a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. What is going on, buddy?
Oh, my man, just got off a fresh watch. Movie that we're going to be talking about later, The Sandlot. It was crazy busy news week, but keeping on top of things. It's been good. Finally, some summer weather over here in New Brunswick out east, and it's looking like a bright future ahead. Good watches in this week. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So everyone makes a joke. Even though I grew up in Redondo Beach, I don't really like going to the beach all that much. I get
Okay.
get a little bored, and
See
everyone,
it.
I mean,
Going on.
and then like my friends play volleyball and stuff, and like I could play with them, but some of my friends are really competitive, and it becomes like it seems like it's like less fun and more like now we're not playing for
Right.
money, right? So there's that. But no, we went to the beach on Saturday, and I realized why I don't love it sometimes because I didn't even realize this until the next day. I saw that I got like a little like sunburn like underneath my eyes and stuff. I was whatever, it happens.
Yep.
And then I took a shower, and once the
Oh,
like hot water hit my knee and my legs,
that's
I
the
realized
worst.
that they were burned too. And I was like, "Fuck!" I didn't even like realize that until like the hot water hit my body. So
Yeah.
that wasn't fun. And then I realized, yeah,
No.
this is why the beach is, it's
And
overrated.
here I am. I feel like I've been in with the shirt you're wearing right now. Like I am like Casper the Ghost pale right now. Been inside for months and not much sun, so I cannot wait to get a little color going on here soon.
Yeah,
Yeah, not sunburn weather yet, but hopefully right around the corner because things are lightening up around here. But it's good to hear. At least you guys got a sick beach to go to. My little small town, there's not
yeah.
much.
Not much to go.
Enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and yeah, my friends can spend hours at the
Is
beach.
that right?
Like
Yeah.
at a certain point, I was like, I'm hungry. Like, I guess could have brought like snacks or something. But I was like, I'm hungry.
Right.
Can we go somewhere else? But you know what? It's been 3 weeks in a row. They've got me to go 3 weeks
Oh,
in a row.
I mean, you do live in California. You got to hit the
That's
beach
true.
a fair amount of time.
And not only in California, like I live in a beach city, so like
Yeah,
it's like you have to. Um,
definitely.
but yeah, it was fine. It was actually kind of relaxing, other than the sunburn and
Nice.
stuff.
I'm
Yeah,
glad to
I
hear it.
had a pretty good weekend otherwise. And then yesterday, I told you I just kind of watched movies and did all that fun stuff. I watched what we're going to be covering later today. Watched our deep dive, which I can't reveal here, but I can
Right?
say that I already told Jackson what it was.
Yes.
So no more secrets amongst
And
podcast bros
I'm
anymore.
giddy. I cannot wait for your guys' chat on that movie because it's one that I also very much love. And I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what you guys think about it and all the different points about it that you bring up. It's going to be one I'm anticipating very much so.
Yeah, so it was
And I
fun.
will watch soon too.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was a fun revisit. I'm glad I told you what it was before we recorded
Yes,
this.
finally we thought to chat about that before. It's great.
Yeah.
But I honestly, like I say, I like being not in the
Guessing.
know and like trying to guess and stuff. So, but it's nice to also have a little heads up too.
Yeah. And you know what? And so because it's such another week of like a lot of news happening,
Yes.
I swear we will go back to like talking about what we watch in
Right.
more detail. But we're only gonna do one today before we get in the news, as it kind of ties into it'll eventually tie in the box office. We were really wrong on that
Yes.
one again.
And it's one that we both saw. Yeah, I'm
We
sure.
both-
Yeah.
We both saw it, but I saw Renfield on Thursday.
Mhm.
You saw it
Yesterday
yesterday,
of filming, so Sunday afternoon.
right?
Yeah.
I saw it Thursday with my brother and his friend Nick. I would like to point out, by the way, it was a 10 o'clock showing, so I guess it's kind of late, but it's only an hour and a half. Like it's a pretty breezy movie.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, super tight.
But my brother and his friend at one point fell asleep, and I was in the middle, and I was like,
that's not good.
I know, and I was in between them, so I was hearing like snoring from like this end and this end. So I eventually had to just like do the double, like wake them up.
Wake up, guys.
It was, I mean, 10 o'clock doesn't feel late for. If it was a longer movie, I would have been like, yeah, I can feel that.
Fair.
But it's an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I was
but
like,
a cozy dark theater. I've been guilty of that too. If I have enough lights off watching in my living room, sometimes I'll nod off to movies.
yeah.
But
And of course, they weren't like snoring during like action parts. It was like where people were like talking, you could hear it. I was like, guys, wake up.
have you ever fallen asleep in a movie theater before?
You know what's funny is this is why I had to see this movie twice.
Oh.
Okay, it's funny because we were bringing up this movie a lot. When I first saw Alien Covenant, I saw it.
Oh.
I saw it at a late showing, pretty late. It was like 11 something.
Okay.
I fell asleep in the middle of it. Maybe like 5 minutes or maybe a little over that. I just remember being completely lost when I woke up. I was like,
fair enough.
and you know what? 5 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but when I saw the movie the second time, I was like, I missed a lot in that
Okay.
5 minutes. But it wasn't because the movie was bad or it was boring. It was just like it was late and
Yes.
I fell asleep. But it was just funny because we've brought that movie up a lot
Yes,
recently with each
I
other.
love Covenant. It's one of my favorites, definitely in the Alien verse, and just such a guilty pleasure, or not even a guilty pleasure. I don't feel guilty watching it, but a comfort movie. That's more in line what I was
Yeah,
thinking of. Yes,
yeah,
definitely a
but
rewatch around the corner for me.
for sure. I've had friends fall asleep more in movies than I fall. Like me and my buddy David went to go see The Fate of the Furious when that came out.
Oh
He
yeah.
fell asleep during that, and it was during like it was like loud action.
How?
I
How
don't
can
know
you
how
fall
you fall
asleep during a
asleep.
Fast and Furious
I
movie?
was like, all it is noise. I don't know how you fell asleep during that. But yeah, he like knocked out and he was snoring, and I had to like do that.
Mm-hmm.
The nod, the little like, please wake up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a packed theater, like that means other people can hear it. You snoring, so
Right, definitely.
and you don't want to be the guy like I'm with the guy who's snoring. It's cool.
Right. What do I do? Do I wake him? Do I sit here? Do I let him get his
Yeah,
beauty sleep? Yeah.
beauty sleep in. But with Renfield, I told you like when after I saw it, I was like, hey, like it's not bad,
No,
but
not a bad movie.
it's not bad. I just feel like
Not a great movie
I
either.
wanted to like it more.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you 100%.
the stuff that works really does work, and that is mainly Nicolas Cage just completely over the top
Yes.
and embracing it, and it's great. Nicholas Holt's also really good. I thought Aquafina,
100%.
even though I don't like the subplot that involved her, like her
Right.
cop character, I still
Yep.
think Aquafina is just naturally funny. She and her and Nicholas Holt had some good stuff together, I thought. But yeah, that subplot with her being a cop and then like trying to honor her father and then and her sister also works for the
Not enough.
FBI.
Yeah, not enough to buy into that for me.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of people are saying that the subplot didn't do anything for them.
Right. And like it's honestly it was pretty cheesy.
100%.
And like I didn't
Lots of
expect that kind of
cheese.
I didn't expect that kind of cheese in a movie that was like so camp like one half is so campy and then that is like a little serious. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
feel like it fit in that kind of movie. And I kind of wish it just went full camp and just didn't try to like there's also I told you the whole like there's like a forced message about codependency and like all that. I mean I
And
know
toxic relationships and all this.
and I know that was like the trailer gives out away, right? That's the running joke, but I thought that would
Yes.
be the running joke and not so much like, hey guys, this is like the after
The
school
soul of your movie.
special, yeah, after school special message at the end of in the middle of the movie. I was like, all right, cool. Like that's when the
Yeah.
script kind of like fell apart for me when it was like trying to like be a little too serious.
Yep.
It felt like two movies fighting with each other.
That's a great way of putting it. It's like, yeah, 100%. Are you trying to be a campy comedy or are you trying to be like this message heavy sort of like, I don't know, self-aware semi horror movie? I don't know. There was a lot of different things going on and not enough runtime really to, I think, cohesively tie in all those different things. Only an hour and a half, like you said. I think they just should have stuck to one or the other. But like you said, Nick Cage, every moment he was on screen, scene stealer, he looks great as Dracula. You know that he was probably living it up, having the time of his life, playing a character that he wanted to play for so long. So was happy for him.
I loved how it started. I love how they put them in the scenes from Dracula, like the black and white, how they like that. I thought that was really the Bela Lugosi one. I thought that was really cool.
Smiling like a little kid when that was playing. I was like, that is so sick.
Right. We get off on like the right foot. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool that they're doing this. Like they're going all in on it. But yeah, once I hate to do this to her, but like it's not her fault. Like Aquafina is funny. She's fine in the movie. But like once her character gets introduced and like, her trying to take down this like kind of like big mob family basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone is corrupt except for her. Like there's that whole thing going on too. And I mean, I feel like there are better ways they could have utilized her and not in such a cheap. Really felt like a really bad episode of like Law and Order. That's what it kind of like.
Like no, you're so right though. Oh my god,
not fit at all. And I was like, all right. I mean, she's the saving grace of it. Like she's still funny, and and once they kind of like once she gets more involved with like Renfield and like they have scenes together, like that stuff is good.
Yep,
it does. Like you're right. It's only like the movie's only like a little over 90 minutes, but like it feels. All that feels kind of shoehorned in and it makes it feel rushed and like doesn't add much to the overall like story. I just wish they would have focused more on Renfield, more on Dracula. They could have included her. They could have still included her. Like she could have just easily just been a cop and like we didn't really need and actually didn't even mind stuff with the mob family entirely. They could have still been there, but it was the way they were tied into the story that it felt like it really felt like a really bad like cop show, like an episode of some like Law and Order.
They were kind of shoehorned in the last like third, maybe even quarter of the movie where I just didn't buy in the whole tie-in with the family and Dracula. Maybe if they had been a little bit more careful, added maybe 20 more minutes, but I'm honestly glad that the movie was as short as it was, because I don't know how much more longer I would have been on board.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been either. I mean, I was about to tap out like as it was getting toward its conclusion. I was like, let's just defeat him already. I'm like, I was like kind of over it at this point. But like, there are some really like, there is like a scene in the movie where Renfield comes to his new apartment and Dracula's already sitting in the apartment.
Dude,
and they have this like really funny exchange with each other about like, oh, I was just gonna like I was just about to like call you or message you or whatever, and then Nicolas Cage is just going, oh, you what?
Oh, you were just on your way.
So that scene, I couldn't stop laughing, and actually our theater laughed the most at that, and I couldn't like stop laughing. I thought that was like, I couldn't tell. I'm sure maybe that was like a lot of improv from both of them, just kind of just going back and forth, but like
felt very authentic, yeah.
But like I wanted more of that. Like that's what I kind of wanted, and like
you're so right.
It just didn't deliver on all that. But like I mean, if a comedy has like one really good funny, I mean at least it had that. So
that and another moment that absolutely had me pissing myself. It's just very brief, but how about it's quite early in the movie where there's a scene involving like that the priest and Nick Cage gets burnt up, and then Renfield kind of comes over to his charred up corpse. He's like, "Master, are you okay?" And Dracula's like, just a burn victim. He's like, "No." That part had me busting a gut laugh, and that was a good moment too. But you're like a lot more.
Another one I thought was really kind of funny too was when he was like describing his plan for like basically world domination, and it had like the little like map or whatever, and it was like, you know, basically how it involved. He was like, it was Dracula, and then like this little tiny post like that said Renfield at the bottom, and Renfield, and then pan down. It was like so little. That so was hilarious too.
That was good too.
You know, glad that Nicolas Cage was having fun. I think everyone involved was having fun, and like that showed for sure. I just think that, you know, if they just would have just focused on those two, like that kind of like back and forth relationship, and I didn't even mind the stuff like going to like the meetings and all that. So I thought that was kind of funny. I love the girl who's every time she was sharing, she get interrupted. Right, that was pretty funny.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, it just wasn't enough of like what worked. Like it's clear to me like what did work.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know. I think they kind of dropped the ball a bit.
The ball's definitely dropped for sure. Maybe not like broken on the ground, but definitely fumbled a little bit. One thing, and like everyone, you know this pretty much going in just from the trailers, but a lot of the blood and gore and effects were definitely CGI heavy. I think they just would have looked better practical, especially like some of like maybe some of those effects were practical, but definitely a lot of CGI heavy gore, which I think just would have looked better if it was done practically. And this is probably me. I felt, and I do this all the time with certain movies that aren't meant to be taken as seriously as I maybe critique them, but like some of the things like Awkwafina's character is a traffic cop, right? Yet there are sequences of her like taking down these other like corrupt cops and like this mob family with like these complete like tactical policing skills. And like, this is just, it kind of took me out of it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that was just kind of inconsistent and kind of took me a little bit out of the movie. But overall, not a bad movie. Like, I'd say like a decent 6, but a fun 6.
I would give it that.
Yeah.
Oh, I also love the "fuck you, Kyle" stuff. I love that really good repetitive joke that really paid off every time they did it. I thought that was really good.
Even like the chief hits him with it at one point.
Yeah, about getting like when he says like he can have his parking space.
Yes.
Fuck
up, Kyle.
Fuck up, Kyle. Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would still recommend it to someone. I just I would just let them know that, like, you know, it's probably not entirely what you expect it to be. I was expecting full camp, and, you know, wasn't really expecting like, oh, this movie has a message.
Right. That's a good point. It could have went without the message, but it's not every day, and even it feels like less and less so these days. We get a straight up horror comedy like that, so, you know, can appreciate when those come around. I would recommend it to people while it's in theaters. I'd like to see some more of those, but, you know, we'll take what we get.
By the way, I thought last year was like the year of the horror movie, because it seemed like a lot of them came out last year, but this year is, we had Scream 6 in March. We had this weekend. The Pope's Exorcist also came out this weekend. I didn't see it. It didn't look good.
Russell really bothered, but that's
about it. And then, you know, and then this weekend we have Evil Dead Rise. Like, it's so crazy how many horror films are coming out. That's expected to make some make some money. It's not going to dethrone the Super Mario Brothers movie. We're going to bring that up later. Had a
Oh my god.
great second weekend. Kudos to Illumination. You guys have a huge hit on your hands.
Swimming in it right now.
And I don't know why you haven't announced like 2 sequels and a spinoff yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
It's around the corner. It's got to be.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I love seeing horror. Like, I mean, even if it doesn't always work, it's cool that like there's so many different types of horror movies out there that people can see in theaters. And because there was a time when this wasn't the case. Like, pre like Scream in '96, like the mid '90s was like like the early '90s kind of was a really lackluster time for horror movies, and like all the big guns were like on their last leg. Like the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. But now it's like I would almost consider this like an even bigger renaissance of horror than when like Scream rejuvenated all that, and we got all the slasher movies that kind of followed in its wake. Like it's not only is it like they're good, a lot of them are good horror movies too. It's not just like mindless kind of stuff that they're putting out there. So yeah, kudos to that. Even though I didn't see the Pope's Exorcist, I'm glad to see you there, the Pope's Exorcist. I just didn't want to.
That's right.
We've talked about this before. Exorcism movies, it's hard to top the granddaddy of them all, right? It's hard to top The Exorcist, and then everything else that comes out after that just seems like it's the same but not as good.
An imitation, yeah. What's a dime a dozen with Exorcist movies? You know what I mean? Like how innovative can you be with an Exorcist movie? But on that note, we're probably going to tie this in here shortly because there's a trailer we got to talk about that does look like it's doing a little bit different with the possession theme, and I'm really excited for that. I guess if you just want to jump in, we got 4, like probably more than 4 trailers dropped, but 4 significant ones that we're definitely going to be chatting about. I want to see kind of what you thought of all of them. Maybe we could rank them, but the A24 horror coming out, Talk to Me. It looks like it's going to be putting an interesting spin on the demonic possession subgenre. What did you think of that trailer?
I loved it when I watched it at home, and they actually played it ahead of Renfield when I saw it on Thursday.
Oh,
so it was cool to see it on the big screen too. It looks good. I heard someone in front of me though, when they saw the A24 label, they're like, "Oh, it's probably gonna be really pretentious." I said it out loud, and I guess like that gives off that vibe, but it looks scary. Like it looks like pretty fucking freaky.
It looks like it's gonna be terrifying, and especially all like the different like I don't know what you call it, like the news outlets with their little thumbnails on the trailer, like Bloody Disgusting said takes you by the hand and leads you straight to hell. I'm like all that stuff. I was like, man, these sounds like awesome.
You're like, I'm in.
Yeah, so bought in.
Just in case people don't know, the film watches as a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, becoming hooked on the new thrill. Mia is determined to get a piece of the otherworldly action in order to be distracted on the eve of her mother's death. But when her group of friends gathers for another unruly seance with the mysterious embalmed hand that promises a direct line to the spirits, they're unprepared for the consequences of bending the rules through prolonged contact. As the boundary between worlds collapses and disturbing supernatural visions increasingly haunt Mia, she rushes to undo the horrific damage before it's irreversible. Yeah, I know. It looks good. I'm intrigued by it. I heard buzz about it before because people have seen it early because it was at film festival, I believe.
That's where A24 picked it up, I think, right?
Out of Sundance, yeah. So it was getting buzzed in, and sometimes I am a little leery when there's a lot of buzz for like horror movies like this because like while I don't agree with the guy in front of me, his pretentious comment,
right?
There is a running joke with some of my friends like, if it has like a 90%, 100% Rotten or close to 100% Rotten Tomatoes as a horror film, they're like, probably critics like it. I'm probably not gonna like it.
Okay.
And so some people, I don't agree with this. Some people point to like The Witch or The Babadook or Hereditary.
Some of the best horror movies come out in the last like 10 years, if you ask me.
Right. What does Scream call it? Like elevated horror, that kind of
that or highbrow. I get the negative connotation around that. Those like phrases to describe those types of horrors, but like I also can't find a better expression myself that describes them. Like they are just a little bit elevated. It's more than your slasher, a movie that you can just watch and not think about when the credits roll. Like these A24, they're great at picking these horror movies that stick with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. And I'm glad it's cool to see this getting like a theatrical release soon. July 28th is when it comes out. I can see potential here if they keep releasing really cool little like TV spots like leading up to the release. I can see them building enough interest and buzz that it can make a decent amount of money when it opens, and it won't just be like an art house horror film. It might be able to appeal to like mainstream audiences until they see it and they realize it's an art house horror film.
It's got an intriguing like plot though that I think
Yeah.
many mainstream audience like filmgoers can get behind. Looks
But yeah,
terrifying.
it looks terrifying. I'm all in. I'm assuming you're all in.
I'm
What you want? You want to be dragged to hell with
Yep.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, my check is cash. I will be there. Also, it's an Australian film. Like they've made some pretty good horror movies. Like you mentioned, The Babadook is an Australian film. Nice to see something come out from that corner of the world again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all on board with that one.
This reminded me. Have you ever seen Wolf Creek?
No, it's been on my list for a long
it's
time though.
So that's another one. Even back then, I remember we went with a group of friends who didn't love it. It does take a while. It's a slow burn. But once it starts, like
Not a problem.
once things get batshit crazy, it's so good. But it takes a while to get there.
Mhm. Right.
But yeah, I was just thinking about that because of the Australia thing. Because like that was like one of the last
Yeah.
what I can think of. That was like, oh, I really love that movie, and you know, a lot of my friends didn't. They were like, oh, it's really slow. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
but it's like the payoff is so worth it. Like once
That's
like
what
that,
it's all about.
yeah, because like it's one of those horror movies that like everything seems fine until it's not.
Yeah, and then
like
it's
all of a
really
sudden,
not.
then it's really not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I'm all in on this new one. It looks good. Actually, really thought the trailer was really good. Horror movie trailers, you know, you're being like a sameness to some of them, especially ones like this. I
Mhm.
thought it did a good job of like kind of reeling you in and
Yes.
intriguing you a bit. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Just back to A24 for a sec. I know you mentioned, but he made this comment when he saw the A24 logo. I just love how like A24 is so innovative with how they put their logo up across on the screen and they like mix it into like
Yeah.
what's going on in the movie. And I thought the one with the hand kind of contorting into a two was just like, oh,
so
that
good.
is awesome. I love that so much. I always pay attention to that stuff. And yeah, I gotta say that was a high ranking A24 logo for me.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Freaky shit.
Now it's very, you know, it's interesting because we went with Talk to Me because it kind of connects what we were talking to before. I guess the bigger trailer that came out last week is for the Marvels, and this actually can create another really interesting conversation because the trailer came out, and of course, there's a huge amount of discourse online. Even though I'm gonna say this, because someone asked me because I posted a story the next day about how like it was getting a ton of dislikes on YouTube, and someone was like, "Well, they removed the dislike function on YouTube, so you can't see it." So there are third-party apps and stuff that websites use.
I've been wondering this.
Where you can still see it.
Okay.
And you know what? You know what? We'll leave with this. Let's talk about what we thought of the trailer first, and then we will talk about the major discourse from everyone else.
Okay. Would you like to begin? This has been something I've honestly been thinking about all week. And like since it dropped, I've been like waiting to talk about it, but I don't know degree I'll get into it. So I want to see like how you lead. Just tell me what you thought of the trailer. If you're cool with going first.
Yeah, I'm cool with going first. I actually think it looks fun.
Okay.
Like it doesn't feel like the first movie, at least. Like I remember those trailers, and like it feels a little different. But it seems like Brie Larson, I think, is funny. I think she's actually. I like Brie Larson. I know we're gonna talk about her.
Yes.
Because some people don't. I think she's funny, and I think she has like a natural like on screen. She can have like a natural like likability and stuff. And I think they're kind of looks from the trailer they're utilizing that a bit more. But I also forgot that like the first movie she was almost like fish out of water kind of thing. Like she was it was her training and like all that. She was like kind of learning who she was. And like when you now that known her and like she's been around, there is more opportunity to loosen her up a little bit. And it seems like that's what they're doing in that trailer. I don't know. I think it looks fun. I mean, it looks a little kid friendly. That was the first vibe I thought when after it was
over. Thing. Yeah,
it's got a little like Freaky Friday kind of vibe going on. It seems like that's the tone.
I hadn't made that connection, but now that you mention it, that is complete. It's like a different sort of version of Freaky Friday in the sense that their powers are being mixed up and whatnot. But that is a great comparison. That is very much it's like a Freaky Friday syndrome.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know that Samuel L. Jackson was going to be in this because I hadn't heard about him coming back for it. But it was cool to see him in the trailer because he was in the first movie, and they actually had like him and Brie Larson have actually a good relationship in real life, and I think that kind of translates on screen. They get along really well, so it's good to kind of see him back. And but this is what Brie Larson had to say about the sequel during the trailer launch. They launched the trailer on Good Morning America. And she said the first one was the origin story of who she is. Now it's digging into some of the complexities that there is much more to her than that. That there are parts that are not so great about her. That we can see a hero as being a person that doesn't make every right decision all the time. It's like they're kind of like humanizing her a bit because like a lot of people's big complaint with Captain Marvel, and I remember this being a big complaint during Endgame. She's pretty powerful, right? She could probably she could have stopped Thanos on her own.
Single-handedly. It seems
and
she's OP as fuck. Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? I love Endgame, but that movie makes a lot of excuses as to why she can't be there until like the very end. And you know, and the problem with a character like that who has like Superman syndrome is like all right, what are your weaknesses? What makes you vulnerable? Like they become less human, I guess, as a character.
Yes.
So it will be nice if this kind of humanizes her a bit more. I mean, I think you kind of saw a little bit in the first one that was coming out, but we haven't really seen a lot of her since, right? Because like she didn't have a big role in Endgame, and you know,
has she been in the MCU since?
So I guess she had a cameo on Miss Marvel.
And Miss Marvel? Okay,
yeah.
I figured that would be where it was if she had popped up, but I hadn't even heard about that.
So you know, we haven't really, you're right. We haven't really gotten a lot of her since that first movie. So, you know, it'll be nice to kind of see how they develop her personality. I'm curious to see how they have them all three work together.
Right? They're not a team. They're not a team.
They're not a team. The trailer wants you to know
they're so a team. They're so a team. Why are you trying to say they're not a team?
No, that's the trailer trying to be funny.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? I actually haven't watched Miss Marvel, so I can't judge the character or the actress. I love her enthusiasm, though. I've seen her in,
can appreciate her enthusiasm.
Yeah, I've seen her in videos. She's interviews and stuff. She's a fan first and foremost, so that is cool. She is a fan of all these things. I think that's why that shows in whatever clips I've seen her in, and even in this trailer, it seemed like she's having a good time. She's having fun. I'm picking up what she's putting down. So I like that.
In my research, or I call it research, that's probably a stretch, but like as I was like kind of digging in the movie after watching the trailer a couple times, I just came across, I can't remember, again, shame on me, I should have this actress's name down pat, but the girl that plays Kamala Khan was like in her last semester of high school when she got cast and like was going to be brought into the MCU. I was like, how cool is that? Like that would have just been such an amazing moment for like her in high school. Imagine all her friends like, oh my god, my friend is going to be in the MCU now. Like that is just like so awesome for her. And you can tell, like, just back to your point, she's very enthusiastic, she's very happy to be there. I can only imagine this will be definitely a foundational part of wherever her career goes. So, and she definitely brings that to the character from the little promo material I've seen, because I haven't seen Miss Marvel either.
Yeah. Oh, and her name's Iman Vellani. So yes, I wanted to put that out there. She she does seem like she has like an infectious personality, like that shows.
Yes.
And also I want to mention Fiona Paris is returning as Monica Rambeau. She was introduced on WandaVision, so we'll get to see more of her and discovering her powers and all that stuff too, because that got introduced on WandaVision, and we'll kind of see how that goes in this movie. And I think this will be her first appearance since WandaVision in the MCU, so that'll be fun to watch. I kind of feel like you feel like a certain kind of way about the trailer. Like,
yes,
you guys can't see this, but there's like laughter and like body language.
Yes, I know. I've been debating throughout the whole week because, like, you know, like we are very much on the same page. We appreciate film and cinema, and I want things to do well. Yeah. But that being said, like, I want to speak candidly about what I saw, how I feel about it. I just feel guilty when I, for lack of a better word, like shit on things. Like, I don't want to be doing that, but like this trailer is not for me. Like, it's just not a property that is like for me, and I get that. That's fine. I'm not like in any way feeling this way because I feel like it's not a target audience or anything. It's just there's nothing I saw in it that made me want to watch it. I don't think it's like going to be something I will ever go out of my way to see. I also just struggling to find, I don't know if what I feel the target audience for this movie is going to do enough lucratively for this movie. I actually think it's in troubled waters. That aside, just thinking about it's faced how many delays? Do you have any insight as into how many delays it's faced? Well, Two at least?
I think 2 or 3. I think some of it had to do with COVID.
Okay.
And I think the release date change, I thought seemed like, oh, they must be trying to fix some stuff, tool things around.
Reshoots for sure too.
But I guess it does make sense because, like, you know, they were really going to release it like I think July, like I think mid or late July.
Yes.
And now it's got the same opening weekend that Wakanda Forever had back in November of of last year. So it could work. I mean, it's a holiday weekend that's coming out in November, so like it might not be as bad as I thought it was. When I first heard about the release date change, I was because it happened right after Ant-Man and the Wasp, like Quantumania didn't really critics didn't
Right.
like it, and then they had that huge second weekend drop. And then
Right.
they talked about moving the Marvels. And I was like, well, something must be wrong over at Marvel Studios. But you know, I think that might not be the case. It
It
could
might not
just
be. It looked
very
like
well.
optically, it looked like something maybe was going on behind the scenes, like they're like panicking a little bit, but that obviously is all speculative. We don't really know
Yeah.
what's going on. But I can see I was kind of like thinking that too. I was like, why? Obviously, they are not very it just doesn't give the impression to me that the studio is very confident in this movie. I
Yeah.
obviously COVID played a factor. I hadn't really considered that, but there was originally this is going to be slated for 2022 release. It got bumped twice in 2023 already. There's been reshoots. Brie Larson seems like she's taking a back seat in her own sequel. She's not, I mean, she's featured in the trailer tons, but like
Yeah.
she's very much splitting up the screen time between her and her two co-stars. Again, so back to praising Miss Marvel, the actress, for her enthusiasm. Also, I feel like she just kind of gets under my skin a little bit, just too childish for me. Like,
Yeah.
so that part for me, like I watched the trailer probably 3 times just to have a good sense of when we were chatting about it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't know that I buy in. Also, the footage I saw from her show, I was not
You're
on
like,
board with
no.
either. But I'm kind of like worried for Marvel about its performance. I'm just curious to see how it's going to do. I don't want it to fail or anything, but I don't know. I guess my opinion of it is a little bit on the pessimistic side.
Well, you know what? It's fair. It's interesting that you made the comment about seems like she's taking a backseat in her own sequel because that was my thought too. And you know, it's a standalone sequel supposed to be about her, but
Right.
I and this is me just speculating.
Yep.
Like people feel a certain kind of way about Brie Larson.
Hmm.
I guess having her in a movie where she's sharing the space with two other people kind of takes like all the focus off of her a little bit and like gives some gives viewers other stuff to latch onto.
That's a great point.
That being said, I think there's still a lot of really negative people out there that have shit to say about it based on having three female leads,
Sure.
especially
Absolutely.
you know you have two people of color and like you know that got brought up a lot in like some of the comments on YouTube. It even on G Reels, that story that I posted about the trailer getting
Yep.
there's 45 comments on that story, and I was like looking at it, like wondering if I needed to block one person because they were
Yeah.
going back and forth about like it didn't get to the point where they were like insults, but I felt like
Okay.
it was getting close to that.
Okay.
But to kind of
Well,
I
that's
don't
just
think,
ridiculous.
and also like reason that the trailer didn't work for you is not the reason that the trailer supposedly isn't working for a lot
No,
of other people.
of course not.
Um,
That is very juvenile way of looking at things and just wrong. Of
So, I mean, it got it was a target of a lot of sexist and racist Marvel fans. I guess they want to
yeah,
call them Marvel fans.
fans. I mean,
Now,
loose term.
yeah. So this is just me reading the post I did last week. These numbers have probably gone up
Yep.
since then. It says the Marvels trailer has nearly 200,000 dislikes on the official Marvel YouTube channel and 305,000 likes. Only the She-Hulk trailer has more dislikes with 553,000 dislikes. At IGN, it's more the same as the Marvels trailer has 16,000 dislikes to 7,000 likes. And over at Rotten Tomatoes, the trailer has 17,000 dislikes to 3.8 thousand likes. The official Marvel Latin America YouTube channel also shows 27,000 dislikes to 19,000 likes. And then within its first 11 hours online, it had 7.6 million views. Says many fans that are review bombing the Marvel's trailer seem to be attempting to make a political statement expressing that the Marvel studio is woke due to the film revolving around three female heroes. Now, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was the first female-led movie within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and despite similar criticism, though, that movie was commercially successful and made $1.1 billion worldwide at the box office. Um,
Right.
I honestly think that also had a lot to do with like the build up to the
Endgame.
bigger end game
Right.
more than it being about I don't want to take the shine away from that movie. I mean that's cool that it made over $1 billion with a female lead and female led superhero movie. That's amazing. But I think a lot
Yep.
of that it was like the last one before we got to like the big finale. So I think that had
That's
a lot
right.
to do with it. How do you feel about just people just throwing dislikes? And like in the comments, like some people were trying to be stupid, like, oh maybe I do think someone like you didn't really love the trailer. I think there are people out there that just didn't like the trailer.
this is what I've been waiting to
Right.
bring up. I'm glad you bring that
Right.
up because
But
I
I
look at a
think,
person like, sorry, wait, you
yeah,
finish your point.
yeah, but I think a lot of people also are just attacking each other because they don't like her, and there's a bunch of other stuff they calling it woke because there's 3 female leads and
Right.
all that other stuff. I think there's more of that at play than like genuine dislike. Oh, this doesn't look good. Like that's kind of how I feel.
Here's how I looked at it, my 2 cents. I think that because I was thinking about me, I saw your post and I absolutely agree with it. There are obviously there's going to be trolls out there that are going to just dislike it because it's got women or people of color in the lead roles,
Right.
and that will be present forever. That's just a sad reality of how entertainment works. But I look at a person like me who is like judging it for different merits, clearly, and I'm not a huge Brie Larson fan. I'd say I'm a bigger fan of her outside of MCU stuff. This is like a role that I just don't really like her in.
Right.
She's funny. I've enjoyed her in other stuff like Scott Pilgrim, 21 Jump Street. I haven't seen Room yet, but definitely would absolutely watch it. I'm sure I'll love her performance. But all that aside, I look at people like me. Now, I'm not much of a like or dislike on a video kind of guy. I will for like small creators that I really value. I'll like their videos, but I'm sure there are people like me, like you mentioned, that just, didn't like what they saw that would throw a dislike on there, which is why
Right.
to me, I don't think that like the dislike and the likes paint. I don't know that there's what you can glean from just that. I think the comments are really
There's
where
what.
you can
Yeah.
tell what the story is there, what people are commenting about, and that feeds in. No doubt there's going to be people from both sides that are pumping up those dislike numbers. But I
Yeah.
think the comments are definitely the spot where you can see the picture more clearly painted as to why the movie is getting, such negative reviews, I guess, before it's out.
Right. And I honestly feel bad for all 3 of them because
True. Yeah.
particularly the young one. I mean, maybe she's mature enough, or maybe her parents are like, hey, you know, I don't know if I'm not gonna. I don't live in their house, but like, I don't know if seems mature enough where they may not have any children from it. They'll be like, hey, she's probably aware maybe that stuff's out there, and then maybe a pep talk from like Brie Larson, like, yo, I've been through this already. That might
Right.
be at play too, but they have to know that there's the discourse out there, and like Brie Larson has commented on before, like back in the day, like she's gotten this since she got cast in the role.
Right.
So it's unfortunate that this is part of the conversation too. Like it's don't like the trailer because you don't think the movie looks good, like, but other
Mhm.
than that, that should be the only reason you dislike it, if you dislike it, not because you think Marvel's trying to like push some woke agenda, or you hate Brie Larson because she's
Right.
outspoken, or you don't want to see 3 female lead a superhero movie. Like that's ridiculous.
Ab- Absolutely. What I also like, I'm not necessarily thinking like this is in jeopardy of like happening, but what I don't want to see that I have seen from other movies before is like Marvel having the expectation that because they are having a more quote unquote like woke movie, if you will, I don't have a better way of like phrasing this,
Yeah.
that necessarily equals good content, and that they shouldn't expect people to be all on board with it just because they have 3 female led movie. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's going to be a good quality movie, and people still have the right to their own opinion, and they can express that as long as they're doing, respectfully. Obviously, people that are commenting these, racist, misogynistic things, that's
Yeah.
a whole other side of that argument. But I have seen movies like particularly like the Star Wars come to mind where like just because they're going down a certain route, they kind of expect like nothing but universal admiration. And I just
Yeah.
think that is a silly expectation to have. And so I've been watching this kind of discourse play out with this trailer and just keeping an eye on both sides of things. It's made for
Yeah.
very interesting conversation and whatnot for sure.
Definitely a debate that is
Yeah.
that's continuing to rage on. It's been like a week almost. Like I can't imagine how much worse it's going to get when right before the movie comes out, when they're promoting it, there are interviews everywhere, more trailers come out ahead of its release. Like this is not gonna go away
It's an interesting
anytime soon.
start to the promotional material, that's for sure. And you just reminded me of another point I wanted to cap off is another interesting, like not much of a teaser. It's like it doesn't show you all the ins and outs of the plot, but it's also showing you instead of like typical teaser will be very short or at least show you like one little segment from the movie. But this is a
Yeah.
minute and a half
Yeah.
plus of things from all over the plot. And I just
Yeah.
think it's an interesting teaser. It's not much of a teaser, just a kind of a shortened regular trailer, but
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how the other trailers go.
Yeah. I would hope. I mean, I'm not naive. Never mind. It's gonna happen. Just try. Let's try to be better, people. Just try to be better.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, if you really don't like it, you don't have to like see it, and you don't have to watch it. Like
And you don't
you
have to
don't even.
bring anybody else down if you don't like
Yeah,
it.
you don't even have to watch the trailer if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You No one's making you go to YouTube and watch it.
No.
Like it's avoid it if you hate her so much or you hate the idea of like what the movie's trying to sell. Just like watch something else.
Yeah, it's no one's forcing you to, stay on the positive side of things. You know what I mean? There's no need to bring in all this negativity in the world, but people will be how they are. You're right. It's naive to think that we won't have that, but
yeah.
Oh well, we'll be here talking
guys,
about it
for a long time because this movie comes out on November 10th, and there's going to be a lot of this until then, and a little bit after, it opens too. Sure. So this will definitely be another topic of conversation on the podcast because I don't know.
I'm sure you're right.
So someone commented too. They're like Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, DC fans. They're not all of you, not all of you.
No,
some of you are a wacky bunch, and I mean,
that's right.
I don't know how it goes from like, yeah, I just didn't feel that to just full on like hate, like visceral, like
every
sexist, misogynistic, racist hate
demographic, right? Like there's and those voices unfortunately just speak the loudest. Somehow it seems, but
unfortunately,
yeah, maybe that won't always be the case, but for now it seems to be. But moving on to happier things, I very want to talk up that I'm so happy to see. I just watched it again before we started recording, and that is this is a whole other point, but now Max's Penguin trailer. So yeah, for those that don't know, HBO Max is experiencing somewhat of a rebrand right now, where going forward their streaming service will be referred to as Max now, which again, you're shaking your head. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't know why they felt they needed to distinguish.
Oh yeah, why did our stock drop 6%? Like you took the most recognizable part of your brand, you took it off the name.
That is a fantastic point. I didn't know that about the stock dropping.
Yeah, right.
Total sense. Though.
Right after they made that announcement.
Oh
right
my
after.
God.
So they try to like. I mean, we're gonna talk about all this stuff, but they try to like cover it up with all these like fucking bells and whistles, and, like fireworks. Like, oh, we changed the name, but look at all this stuff we're announcing. Like, all this cool stuff's coming out, guys. No, it's a stupid rebrand. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but like more on the Penguin trailer.
Yes, definitely. What did you think of the hat?
I thought it looks really good. I mean, I really love. It feels like James Gunn and Peter Safran are like letting Matt Reeves and his team like do what they want to do with like
totally
their part of the DC stuff.
Best thing they could be doing for that.
Which of course started with like the Batman last year, and it's continuing with this show, and then of course the Batman Part 2. They'll be starting that up soon, and it just took me back to like actually watching the Batman because I was like, I haven't watched the Batman. I think I watched it one more time after I saw it in theaters. Yeah, like when it came out on
as well.
When it came out on Blu-ray. I probably could rewatch it again, but it kind of took me back to immediately took me back to that world again. That trailer, like it was like
same tone,
same exact tone. It's cool to see Colin Farrell getting more of an opportunity to flesh this version of the character out. Because we didn't get a lot of him in the Batman, but it was enough to be like intrigued, and like he was certainly good.
When he's there, you're loving it, right?
Yeah, right.
He looks great.
It looks great. I love that. I love the serious tone. I mean, like keeping that same tone as the Batman. It looks good, and they're actually still in the middle of filming it. So this was just like just like here's some completed stuff.
Yeah. Did you notice in the trailer? There's like several shots where you can see like mic operators and stuff like holding the microphones like, around the scene. And it would go to like a more traditional trailer scene, like showing you the footage with none of the other like crew members visible, but then there would be some shots of crew members clearly there. I was like, that was an interesting way to pitch that first trailer.
Yeah, I mean, because like I think it was labeled as like a first look like featurette on certain sites and stuff. So it got to be like a nice mix of like, oh, here's like a little bit of a trailer, but also they're in the middle of filming it still. I mean, I think it was a good way to tease it for sure.
I definitely agree.
And actually led with that when they were talking about their rebrand to Max. So it was a good thing to lead with. I mean, but yeah, I'm really excited for it, and I know that the success of this show will kind of determine like if Colin Farrell will be utilized more in like either in the Batman like sequel or anything like that, or and I know this is being billed as like a limited series right now, so I'm assuming it's a one-off, but if it's successful, then we've seen that change a lot where it's a limited series, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, psych, that was season 1.
Yeah, I'm sure that the people behind this show, like Matt Reeves and whoever's writing and helping him out, are smart enough to perhaps leave it open-ended, or to at least give themselves, not write themselves into a corner and make it where they can't make another, expansion, a second series or something like that, because the writing's on the wall. I just really think this is going to be successful. So I think they should at least kind of plan that way. But I just have a lot of faith in how they're approaching this new Batverse, because it seems like they have done everything right so far. Speaking of Colin Farrell, how excited do you think he is to be back in that makeup chair for the film?
I know, right? I mean, he seemed to be all in on like. I mean, it's a lot, but he seemed to be all in on like making the character like look the way he needs to look to like really get into the role. But I can't. That has to be a lot of
hours long process to make him look like that for sure.
And it's different. And
damn good job.
It's definitely different when you're like shooting a movie where you're not in every scene, and now you're doing like I think this is 8 episodes. So like, I'm sure that process is probably not the best, but like once he's in it and he's like performing, he probably feels like it completes the whole vibe, the whole look. So take what you have to do when you're an actor. Like, so I guess I have to sit here for a few hours to get in the character.
Yeah,
it works.
This is also like this Colin in the Batman from last year was my first real exposure to the Penguin character. Like I still haven't seen Tim Burton's Batman movies, though it's his. I know.
You've never seen. No, this is worse than Breaking Bad. You haven't seen 1989 Batman?
So here's the thing. It's in Blu-ray, like probably 10 feet to my right, and I'll be watching it before The Flash. I have to, but I know it's a crime, eh? So I've literally never seen Jack Nicholson's like full performance of the Joker either, which is
that means you've never seen Batman Returns, which is like
nope.
Arguably not as good as
Pfeiffer?
Yeah, not as good as 89, but definitely every time I watch it, it's like a fan favorite.
I can't wait to watch them. Don't get me wrong.
We did like an anniversary episode for Batman Returns, and when Batman Returns came out in '92, especially because like it had so many like Happy Meal tie-ins, it was like being billed as like as a kid's movie, and Batman Returns is not a children's movie. It's not saying that it's like so far over the top, but there's a lot of innuendo. A lot of stuff that's really inappropriate for kids. So when the movie came, and it's super dark. So when it came out,
that's like, the 90s best for, eh?
Yeah, all these parents were like devastated when they're like thinking they're taking their children to see this like kid, like, which is why Tim Burton has famously said when he was like, okay, maybe I would like to do a third one. He could tell that Warner Brothers was like, nah, we got to go different. Which is why we got.
And I love Tim Burton too.
Yeah, I love Batman Forever for what it is, but that is why we got Batman Forever, and that's why everything got like all colorful and more kid friendly.
Was that Val Kilmer's?
Yeah, Val Kilmer and Joel Schumacher directed it, and it had the right amount of. It had the right amount of like it's kind of dark, but it's getting a little sillier. And then Batman and Robin, just took it all the way into silly territory. Yeah,
right.
But God, I can't believe you haven't seen those. That's crazy.
I know. So you're
so fired.
Again, it's what I've had for a while. You know how many movies are out there to see, right? But I'm so happy that now, because The Flash comes out like right around my birthday, so I'm going to be planning my watch of. I'll probably get both of Burton's Batman in anticipation of that. Because I am looking forward to seeing Michael Keaton. How hypocritical would it be for me to say I'm excited for Michael Keaton's Batman?
I've never seen it.
Seen it. Exactly. I can't let that happen. So I definitely will be watching them. I can't remember even what got me on that train. I think I had one more thing about the Batman, but whatever.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. I deserved it. As soon as I said that.
No, I got it. I got it back. You were saying that I was your first exposure to Penguin because you had
the Penguin, yes.
Yeah.
So all I had seen or known of the character before was like Danny DeVito's like very comical sort of like goofy 90s looking interpretation of that character with the big nose, and he's very short and just very comic-y. But so I was kind of like, when I heard that the Penguin was going to be like a focus in Matt Reeves' Batman, I was like, obviously I had faith in the guy, but I was like, the Penguin and the Riddler, two like Batman villains that, because again, think of me, like my Batman experience has all been pretty much Nolan's forward. So like they're all taken very serious and grounded. So the only time that I had known of these characters being portrayed in live action before was very like campy 90s, a little bit goofy. So I was like, interesting that this is like who, I don't know how I feel about it, but God, did I ever eat my words, because I didn't like criticize, but I was just very like skeptical, I guess you could say. But wow, I very impressed with Colin's work as the Penguin.
So what they did in the Batman, and it's even different comparing these two things, but if you ever watched the show Gotham, they used Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin on that show. Right. Not like you've seen him in other stuff, not like from like the 60s show or like the comic books. Like he has like kind of like features that are very similar, but he's being played by Robin Lord Taylor, who's tall, and but his
Right.
his take on the character is really interesting too, where it's like Gotham was in a very much a real world setting kind of show. It was gritty and it was serious.
I got that sense
And
from the little that I've seen of it.
and so like they're similar in that way, where it's like the approach that they took with the Penguin on and the Batman and on that show were a little similar as far as like making the character a bit more grounded and a bit more realistic.
Okay.
I recommend Gotham. Gotham the first season is more there's stuff that works, but they made the mistake of doing almost like a ace of the week approach on that show in season one.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
season two decided to go full like we're in Gotham.
Okay.
This place is batshit crazy. Let's just go batshit crazy and go all out.
Nice pun
And
there.
yeah, right? Batshit crazy. So, but instead of just having like these like kind of case of the week episodes, you have more like story arcs season two on. So like way more interesting after that first season, where they just let the character. I mean, you have a rose gallery of characters on that show. Like some of it is kind of silly, but you have to like just let its kind of comic book roots kind of show, and that's what they kind of did with season two on. And it sucks though because some people that were watching season one tapped out because they were like, "This isn't what I thought it was going to be." Also, a lot of people were upset because you had like a young Bruce Wayne, so you weren't going to get Batman. The show made it clear that you weren't going to get Batman. You eventually do, like
okay,
briefly. It's starting out with Bruce Wayne as a boy, so like it's not, and the show's not about Batman; it's about Gordon. So it's more about that, of that show. I love that eventually found its footing. It took until season two, but like it eventually really did.
I'm looking through the cast here and like it looks pretty. I did not expect to see Jada Pinkett Smith as like the second build actress or character or actor rather, and then see John Doman from The Boys here as Carmine Falcone. Like that's awesome. This is pretty
really good show.
Cast. Yeah,
and I actually own all of them on Blu-ray because I was like it felt like a show to like own to like have a physical copy of. So yeah, check that out, guys, if you haven't seen it or revisited it. It's a really, really fun show, and like especially if you like your all your Gotham City content gritty and serious. Then it looks
like it's a good 100 episodes right on the button too, but 6 seasons.
They got
100. That's nice.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think when it came out, it wasn't like a huge rating success the way they thought it was going to be. It started out that way. Right. I think the approach that they took in the beginning kind of hurt the show, as they really felt like, it just feels like a cop show, but with like characters from like the Batman comic books. But then once they started doing more comic book stuff in season two, rather than just making it a cop show, it really took off in a really interesting way. And so from that point on, it had like a smaller audience, but a very loyal smaller audience. And it got to the episodes it needed for syndication, 100 episodes for a drama. So good, good on them.
Good for it.
Yeah. All right. So the other trailer we got.
Yes.
I said it to Owen like right after I saw it, and I just love that this is a proper teaser trailer. By the way, there's not like a. I mean, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You don't really
say. This is how you do a teaser.
It's teaser trailer for the Continental is a vibe for sure. I love the music choice in the trailer. Thought that was really cool.
Definitely, the setting looks great.
Setting looks great. I love that they didn't show you a lot. They could have easily just shown you a bunch of stuff, and they didn't. Because we all, if you're a fan of John Wick, we know about the Continental and all that. But like, this will be interesting to kind of see the beginnings of like this stuff and certain characters. And I was. Every time so Peacock is like my least favorite of the streaming services. That was the only thing I was like, it's on Peacock. I forgot.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until now, and damn, that's disappointing. But oh well.
But whatever. It's it's still a good teaser, and I'm confident that it'll.
I wonder
it looks good.
I wonder how Peacock ended up scooping that up. Good for them. That's definitely a good acquisition. I'm just surprised. I haven't seen anything. I've never had a Peacock subscription. Never. I don't think can't think of any of their other original content off the top of my head. Anything stick out? I
have it. Owen used it to watch Yellowstone. I watched Halloween Kills on it after I saw it in theaters because they did the whole simultaneous. They also did that with Halloween Ends as well. No, I really don't use it that much. It's it's the one I use the least. But yeah, this is being the series serves as a prequel to John Wick, and the trailer doesn't really reveal much, but it is labeled as a 3-part event. And it will explore the origin behind the iconic hotel for assassins the centerpiece of the John Wick universe, and it's set in 1970s New York, which is also pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know, and I knew that Mel Gibson was on this, but I
I'm
was like,
just seeing this for the first time right now.
and
What the hell?
yeah, like
That is awesome.
I heard it got announced and I kind of forgot. So then I got the email with the trailer and they were like naming the cast and like they didn't even like put his name first. It was like I was leading through it and I was like, oh, there's Mel Gibson. Like good for him.
Okay.
And
That's good for him.
and Ben Robson is going to be on this too. I used to love Animal Kingdom. That show just had its final season last year, and
Oh,
he was
okay.
on that. He was on that, so I'm glad that he is getting some work post Animal Kingdom. That's always cool to see. I got to interview him too. That was fun.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's really really
That
cool
is
guy.
awesome.
Yeah,
Have
like
you
I'm
seen the Australian original that the show is based off of?
so no. You know, it's crazy. I never have. I've heard it's very good.
See,
It's
very
really
much
good.
the show, from what I understand, because I've had friends that have watched it, and I always say to them, I was like, no, this is based on a Australian film, a little from 2010. Like, check it out if you like the show. And no
Yeah,
one seems to know that, but I've seen the movie probably 2 or 3 times over the years, and from what I understand, the show feels like it's very much the same foundation, just probably
yeah,
packed a little bit
expanded.
more stuff in there. But
Right,
yeah, the movie is gritty and awesome, and it's got a wicked cast. Anyway, just a
nice,
little side point, but if you like the show, check the movie out sometime.
nice. I definitely will
Yeah,
then. Yeah, I've heard great
wicked,
things about it. And
awesome.
Animal Kingdom is one of the rare shows my mom recommended to me because usually
Oh,
when she
okay.
does, sometimes I'm like, no, it's probably not good.
Love that. My
But yeah,
mom, shout out to
yeah,
her, God love her. She's a huge Hallmark watcher. Like, that's all she watches for her, like what she sits down and enjoys. Not even just around
yeah,
Christmas time, but year round, because they pump out a bunch of them nowadays. So
yeah,
there's not a lot that we watch together because we have such different tastes. But
yeah.
yeah, that's funny that your mom recommended Animal Kingdom, because that show's quite popular. I have a lot of my friends watched it and loved
Yeah,
it.
I
I
mean,
was like, watch the movie though.
I definitely didn't watch it. I think I got it season two was when I finally listened. I was like, all right, fine, I'll check it out.
Okay.
And I was like, well, holy shit, you got one right. Good for you. Because sometimes I'll get like texts just like, oh, like watch this, and I'll like check it out for a little bit. Like, no, no, some things are, you know, she grew up watching like soap operas and stuff like that. So she got
Yep.
a flair for the dramatic. So like a lot
Yeah.
of shows like that
That
are like
my mom's the same way. She loves that
like
stuff.
like high
Cheesy or
drama.
not.
And it's weird because like there's certain things like that I have watched. Like I watched the OC when that was on. I watched
Mm.
Gossip Girl. There's certain, but I think there is an appeal to that that's beyond like, oh, it's like kind of soapy and like
Oh,
trashy. You know, you also have like aesthetically, good looking people on your screen on top of that as well,
100%. Yeah. And it
and
was
that
like,
sells the show.
oh, for
And
sure.
depending
And
on
soaps had adapted a lot by the time, like OC and what was that other One Tree Hill was like the
One Tree
companion
Hill,
kind of show. That was the shit back in the day. I was really young when that was popular, but I did watch a lot of it. But yeah, things especially like teen or young adult drama series were definitely like very popular back then and had changed a lot. So definitely
yeah.
an interesting time for TV.
Dude,
Those
I mean,
shows.
you were, I guess not, yeah, you were pretty young, or maybe I were, I don't know. When the heyday of like the WB, when that started, so like when Buffy started, Dawson's Creek, like all that stuff, that network was never huge, but like that was the only
Really?
network, but not huge in the way like the big four were, like like
Oh, okay.
NBC, ABC, Fox. But they were one of the only few networks that were tapping into like the young adult market, that like they
Okay.
were their shows were catered to like that generation, and they were doing well with younger viewers who were like, oh,
Right.
we finally have shows for us.
Well, those shows
And
are still beloved to this day, so I can imagine that paid off. I still have
right,
friends that talk about Dawson's Creek all the time.
yeah, and it's crazy. And when WB and UPN folded and became like the CW,
Oh,
it
a
was
little history. I didn't know that.
yeah, it
That's
was
cool.
this same approach but different, like not
Mhm.
as like same, like still young, but like the shows weren't as like, yeah, they got lucky with Gossip Girl. That was like the right time for them.
Okay.
But what they did when that show hit, they were like, okay, well, we have to make the whole network about sexy teenagers. So then we got like a remake of 90210, and it was like basically Gossip Girl but in LA. And then they were
Okay.
like, all right, then they redid Melrose Place. Like we're gonna take Melrose Place, was a show in the 90s, and like make the cast younger. And like that didn't always work. Because like just
Okay.
because it works for one show doesn't mean that your audience is gonna like watch those
Right.
other shows. So eventually the CW became the home of like superhero shows. Like when Arrow took off,
How did that happen? Where did
like
that, what a weird
well
transition.
well Greg Berlanti like pitched Arrow, and that was successful. It did really well. And then it was like, all right, well, let's see, we can like tie in the Flash. And then like they introduced the Flash in like season 2 of Arrow, and then said they were going to give him his own show that following season. The Flash performs even better than Arrow. It has bigger ratings than Arrow when it comes out. So that encourages them to like, all right, throw in Supergirl. Let's do Legends of Tomorrow. And then like, and then of course, like with any good thing, you oversaturate the market, I think. And
yeah, 100%.
And then of course they start crossing over with each other, and like that was cool in the beginning.
Those are some big events. I remember.
Yeah, I don't know how this turned into a history lesson about the WB and the CW.
No, I'm all for it though. Because I don't know a whole lot about like the smaller network television like history, so like I'm eating that up right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think the main story there is that WB, when they were the WB and they had those shows like Buffy, Dawson's Creek, Felicity. Oh, I'll even throw in One Tree Hill. I'll throw in One Tree Hill. You know, Supernatural started on the WB. I mean, maybe before it transitioned to CW. You know, the shows were well received mostly by critics too. They weren't just like young shows. They were like, oh, like young people are watching them, but no one else is really paying attention. Like critics love Buffy. Critics were into Dawson's Creek. They were into Felicity. You know, Kerry Russell like won a Golden Globe for Felicity. That was unheard of for like that network getting attention like that.
Interesting.
You know, the CW, they took like one half of what works, like like sexy people, and then tried to just build the whole network around that. And, and it worked in the beginning, and I think that, you know, eventually your audience is gonna be like, yeah, I need more than that. And then of course other networks pop up and start doing similar shows, like Pretty Little Liars was like started on ABC Family back then, and like okay, well we also have this show on this network now. We don't have to just watch the CW. So you know, it's the evolution of television, teen television.
So fascinating because it changes seems like it takes a while for changes to happen, but like in the grand scheme of like how long television's been a major player, there is rapid changes. I find it so fascinating. It's also evolved so quickly over the last like 30 years. Television is like indistinguishable from what it used to be. Like that's a part of like cinema that I just really find fascinating is television history.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to teach a course on it someday or something, or like take a course on it rather.
That'd be actually really
fun, super cool. Definitely.
Yeah. And I know the story about the Continental. I'm going to circle it back to Continental.
Circle here.
You know, so far we haven't been disappointed with anything. I mean, it's just been the movies. You know, now that this is our first look at like the universe kind of like expanding into like, you know, of course we already knew about the show, and then like and Armis next summer is going to have her time with like Ballerina. But are you nervous about like the universe stuff expanding, like with the show and like, yeah, because like the movies haven't hit a bad step yet, or you know, we've talked about too. We talked before how like sometimes, you know, when they start developing all these like other things, and you know, you have sequels and spinoffs, and does that kind of hurt the brand?
I feel like there's many examples of brands that have been hurt by expanding too quickly and maybe throwing more at the audience than they are really ready for. Marvel is just another common example of that, is maybe with their TV shows more so than their movies, but lately with their movies too. But a lot of other smaller examples of stuff like this happening. I feel like the more that you put out there, the more likely you are going to invite maybe perhaps a misstep or risk putting all your eggs in one basket or doubling down before everyone's ready. However, I'm excited from what I've seen from the Continental. On paper, I love everything about Ballerina. The 4 movies, honestly, in my opinion, have just gotten better, especially maybe except for like the third, which is probably just as good as the second. But for the most part, have gone on an upward trajectory. So I have no reason not to be excited for any of this. I guess I'm just hesitant, making sure that we don't get too much at one time. But so far, I'm not as worried as I might be with other properties that have been expanding. So far, yeah, no, I'm on board. The Continental looks sweet, but what are your thoughts?
You know, I feel good, mostly because all the movies have been good. And you know, if I really thought that maybe like, oh, the second or third one or fourth one like fell off in some way, I'd be nervous about them expanding this stuff. But like, it seems to be like a pretty well-oiled machine so far, and I'm intrigued by it. Like, I mean, cool thing about doing a prequel too is that like it's not. I guess it does expand the universe, but you get to kind of see how things build up to what you were introduced to, like in the movie. So that's
they keep it consistent,
right?
On board with whatever they want to bring in.
Yeah, so I'm cool with it. Look at the show; it looks really good too. Like, look, it's shot really well. Like, I'm excited for that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too nervous. I think like I'm not too nervous with this, and I think the ballerina stuff could also be really good. I mean, they got a really good lead with that. So, and Armis is probably going to kick a lot of ass in that role.
Oh
So,
man, I'm on board
so
with whatever she's in. I don't
yeah, yeah.
care.
So like,
Great addition to that universe.
yeah. So no, I'm not worried. I'm good. I think it's going to
But
be.
reminding me of something though, where I am worried for this John Wick property is the thought of the fifth one, which I don't know if it's like officially greenlit, but it looks like they're very much leaning into making a fifth one. I'm pretty sure there's an IMDb page dedicated to it by
Already?
now.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, so based on the fourth, how that all goes down, I'd say that gives me a little bit cause for concern, but I will reserve my judgment until maybe we know a little bit more about it. But on the Continental and Ballerina, I'm still very much on board.
Me too. And we'll know in September when this it's Peacock. Guys, if you don't have Peacock, get it. You just want to use it for
Totally.
like me, just use it for one thing, or let your friends use it.
Yeah. Like I just did for Netflix to watch Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I think I get more email alerts from other people signing into my Peacock than I do.
I saw your post this week. It cracked me up.
Oh, fucking Hulu. I don't even know who that. I still don't know who it was.
No.
Who signed into my Hulu, like on their iPhone. But yeah, that's all coming out in September. So yeah, of the trailers that we got, how would you like to rank them? Your level of interest. I already know the Marvels is last, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's funny because like I guess it makes more sense to rank like the Penguin and the Continental because they're both going to be series. TV. Where Talk to Me is going to be like a horror maze. I'm excited for all these things, but for different reasons. Yeah. But I'd say initially my most excitement goes to the Penguin because I'm so on board with the Batverse and what Matt Reeves is doing, and Colin Farrell's attachment to that project just give me all of it. I'm so on board for it. But I feel the exact same way about Continental. I guess maybe I'm more excited for the Penguin just because maybe it's going to be a little bit longer. I'm just despite not having seen Tim Burton's, I am a huge Batman guy, so I'm excited for those. So I'll put Continental maybe slightly under the Penguin, but not.
You're still gonna get it. I'm sorry, I have to go back. I know. So I'm gonna get it. So, God, you know who I know. You know who I know is gonna give it to you. Fucking Merc's gonna give it to you. Like he's gonna be like, what?
Sorry, Merc. I know he'll be listening, so I know he's definitely. I deserve the lashes. That's for sure. But by June, I will have seen them, and you can save the beating. And Talk to Me, I'm of course like it's hard to compare it because it's such a different property, but I'm very much excited for that. And then the Marvels.
Yeah.
What about you? How are you ranking these in excitement?
I'm excited for the Penguin a little bit more than the Continental, but we'll just say based on like the trailers that we got, I liked the Continental more as a teaser trailer because I thought that was a cool way to kind of set up that world without giving away too much. And like I think I'm different with you with the Marvels trailer. I thought it looked fun at least. But I think of the four, I would probably rank it last. But not because like
But not as like as a negative, right?
No.
Fair enough.
No. I'm more excited to see Talk to Me over the Marvels. That's because I'm a horror movie guy and it's A24, so
right.
So that's not to say anyone listening, I don't hate Brie Larson. I will say it again. I love Brie Larson. I think she's quite lovely,
and I admire that your love for her, and it's very much you don't hide it, and I respect that.
Yeah. So it's not a negative. It's just like of the four.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing. No. Like, I mean, you can rank things that don't have any bad entries, and something has to go on the bottom. It doesn't mean it's bad, right?
Yep. And we didn't even talk about that Jennifer Lopez trailer for The Mother.
I hadn't seen it
yet. I just want to say briefly, Jennifer Lopez is frustrated because like she can be like in good stuff, like she can be like good. Yes. So like Selena, she's great in. That was like her huge breakout role back in the day. A movie called Out of Sight that's directed by Steven Soderbergh. Her and George Clooney are in it together. Ooh. It's 25th anniversary is coming up in June, so that might be a good one to do.
That could be a good one.
She's charismatic as fuck in it. They have killer chemistry in it. She's really good. Then she does like, and I get it, it's her bread and butter, but she does all these like fucking thankless romantic comedies that like are just like, yeah, they make money, but they don't really challenge her at all, right?
But is this sort of like an action?
It's like an action
revenge,
but like revenge thriller thing. She's never done something like that, I guess.
I don't know how convinced I am by that, but
whatever. I was just so proud like I'm her dad. I was just so proud after I saw Hustlers because I was like, that was like the Jennifer Lopez from like back in the day, like when she was actually like putting in the work and like doing really like she's really good in that movie. So I thought like after that, especially after all the critical acclaim she got for it, that she would do more stuff like that. No,
Mhm.
she'd like double down and did like 2 romantic comedies in a row. And then this, I get it. She has a really lucrative deal with Netflix. You know,
Okay.
do what you need to do. It just doesn't look good. It wasn't worthy of us like talking about it.
Talking about now.
I just need to just be better, Jennifer Lopez,
Yes.
because you are good.
Yeah.
Not that you care about our opinion, you know.
She doesn't need our validation for anything, but yeah, good enough to bring up. I saw the thumbnail and I was like, yeah, I don't feel called to watch this yet. Maybe I will if it's a talking point later, but
Yeah.
um,
So do you want to keep? I guess we can keep it with the whole Max stuff.
yes, absolutely. Ride that train.
Ride that train. So we did mention. I think
The
it was the
Hogwarts
last episode.
Express.
Yeah, we did mention that there was word of a Harry Potter TV series. It wasn't official just yet, but now it is, guys.
Now it is. Yeah,
it is official, and you're getting 10 straight years, I guess, of a Harry Potter show because
Is that how many books there are?
yeah, I guess, yeah, that's what the so the comment
Shit.
from David Zaslav, who is the Warner Brothers Discovery CEO. That's what he said about the series. He says, "My wife and I, we read the Harry Potter books to each of our 3 kids. It's really moving. For 10 consecutive years, people will see Harry Potter on HBO. I mean, it's really something." Here's the deal with this news. One, I still don't. It's intriguing. I mentioned that before.
Yep.
But I think the movies are fine and they don't really need to be touched.
I'm
And
not ready for the series, as intriguing as it is.
Like finding another Daniel Radcliffe and a Rupert Grint and Emma Watson. I don't know.
Or an Alan Rickman.
All right, Alan Rickman. Good luck. Good luck finding perfect casting.
Ray Fiennes, like,
and I guess the
immaculate for the movies.
The other big issue that they kind of got was, you know, J.K. Rowling is in the news because of her views on comments on like transgender issues.
Yes. What do they call her?
That question got thrown at one of the guys. Yeah, one of the guys during their like announcement of this, and they basically were like, well, this isn't paraphrasing, but like this is the time or place to discuss like that kind of these issues, but everyone knows the reason, and this is why so many people on Twitter actually posted images of like Warner Brothers as like the devil and like, you know, basically exchanging money with J.K. Rowling because it's like, you know, she has to be involved because the IP is hers, and they still want to make money.
Yes.
So there's that.
Oh, they were like identity politics is not as prevalent in media as it is now. Like, cannot come soon enough, if you ask me. Like, obviously she's got some controversial views, and it's shitty that she makes them so flamboyant and puts them out there for everyone to see and then have these opinions. And it's sad that this is even has to be a controversy, because like, it's just, in a perfect world, we would just have Harry Potter content and not have to worry about the broader implications of what sort of weird views the author of the books might have. Like, honestly, who gives a shit? That's just my opinion. Like, it sucks. Regardless, I don't even really care for this series to be made in the first place. So I'm like, it's not like I actually care, but it just bothers me. It's under my skin, honestly, stuff like this.
Yeah, I can tell. I see what you mean. I mean, it's I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things. I'm like I said, I'm intrigued. I kind of, when this got announced, they didn't lead with this during their like presentation for Max. This was like it was like in the middle, kind of thrown in. And I think they kind of knew that like they were going to face some kind of issue with, you know, with her.
Right.
And that has been most of the commentary, other than the fact that it shouldn't even be made. But like, that's been like, hey, like, do you really want to deal with this person? And like, you know, like, that is,
they're starting kind of like from, I don't know what the best expression to be, but they're definitely starting with kind of like with their hands tied behind their back. You know what I mean? Like, not a great start to going into this thing. All I'll say is they better deliver a damn good series, because they are definitely starting out disadvantaged.
Yeah.
And help, I think this would be, because obviously they're going to go through with this. I think this would be a series that would be best off if it was filmed kind of like the Lord of the Rings, like all in succession. You know what I mean? Like, stick with the cast, do it all at once, so that you limit issues production wise. You don't have your cast aging too much. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be a cool way to approach this. I'm curious to see how they do it. Also, I gotta say though, I like that it's HBO. I'm just gonna screw it. I don't care that they're rebranding as Max. I'm just gonna keep calling them HBO.
So it's HBO Max.
It's HBO Max. I like with the exception of Velma, the only little scab on their otherwise pretty much perfect, catalog, I'd say
Yeah,
I'm very happy that if anybody's going to do it, I trust HBO the most.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
it may not be necessary, but I guess
It,
yeah. If
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, that is one thing I'll say about it. Still don't want them to do it. I want them to do something else. I'd rather them just put their, because this is probably, I can only imagine is going to be a very expensive series, and I can't help. I want them to just put that money towards like another Game of Thrones show or something.
yeah. I guess they
But
are actually. I mean, that I
yeah,
didn't mention that they are doing that too. So
I saw that
like,
too.
he's been, Zaslav has been pretty vocal about like just kind of like we have all these IPs, we gotta use them.
Right.
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. I get it. I get it. It's a lucrative. Harry Potter is very lucrative, and you
Yeah,
know what?
that's how the world
The whole
works.
Fantastic Beasts thing didn't really work out theatrically, so they might as well just try
Circle back to square one.
the TV route.
Yeah.
But and I guess more God, yeah, HBO Max news.
Right.
Uh,
I'll never surrender. It's
I
HBO
can't.
Max. I
I
don't
can't.
care.
Uh, they are also doing a Conjuring TV series, which actually I'm on board with that because there's so many case files from like the Warrens that you could probably do like a pretty good show if
That
I
is a
mean,
great point.
I actually think that's kind of cool. And James Wan in talks to be involved as like an producer as
Okay,
well.
great. That's awesome.
Uh,
I love that he's like been so involved with the movies, even though he hasn't he's directed the best ones, I feel like, in the Conjuring verse, but it's nice that he's at least lent his expertise to everybody that has contributed to the movie universe. But so
yeah.
actually beyond this conversation, I have done no digging into this. Was when you messaged me either yesterday or today about that, I saved that because I'm very ignorant to what has been greenlit about this show. I don't know anything about it. So what do you know? What can you share?
What they didn't really give a lot. It just says, according to Warner Brothers, it says show will continue the story established in the feature films. I mean, they didn't really say like how many episodes, all, but
Huh.
I like the idea because there are a ton of case files that that you can kind of dig into. So that could work really well as a TV series.
Yep. I'm wondering, there's nothing cast related, eh?
No, no, not
Nothing
right
like
now.
that. It's probably brand new news. I wonder if if they will, if they're interested in going with Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, or if those two actors will even be down to reprise their roles for the show. Because
Right.
the movies have obviously seen them age, not only just like on screen, but as their characters have gotten older, like within the context of the movies. I'm curious if they want to go back to some cases maybe from before The Conjuring or before The Conjuring 3. I wonder
Yeah.
how they'll approach that, or if they'll recast, if they will. I don't know what they're going to do for that. I'm
Yeah, I know.
interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, they gave very little. I think this was just. I mean, this announcement was to more hype up Max.
Right.
So I think that was more for that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Conjuring universe consists of 7 movies. In case you guys didn't know, The Conjuring, Annabelle, The Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, The Nun, Annabelle Comes Home, and The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. And combined, the franchise has grossed over $2 billion worldwide. So that's why this thing keeps on going.
Mm,
And we're also getting a sequel to The Nun on September 8th. So yeah,
kind of
I
forgot about
mean,
that. There's also only one I haven't seen. Is The Curse of La Llorona too. I haven't seen that movie yet.
oh, I skipped that too. I don't know why. It didn't look that good. So that's why I didn't see that either.
I think it looked like freaky enough, but I just didn't really have. I didn't put a lot of faith into how it actually would translate as a movie. But I like the idea of like the ghost or demon from that movie. But no, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that one either. But I'm sure I will. I liked the Nun, honestly, even though it wasn't a great movie. I liked a lot of the presence of the Nun. So I kind of forgot we were getting a sequel to that this year.
And yeah, so I guess that's, I mean, all the Max news again.
Yeah.
I
God,
don't
it just
understand why.
sounds so wrong.
By the way, they're rebranding because they're combining with Discovery Plus. So there's gonna be some content from HBO Max and some content from Discovery Plus. All I wanted to do when I was digging through the story, I was like, how does this affect me? Because I have HBO Max through Spectrum, which is like the cable provider.
Right.
And apparently nothing will really change. Some of that will just
Okay.
transition over. That's all I really need to know.
I have
So
it
I
to
was like,
Crave. So I don't expect any changes either.
so like that's all I needed to know. I
Huh.
was like, whatever. But it's a weird,
Yeah.
it's a weird
All right.
rebrand. Like you're taking the most recognizable thing out of name. It's just weird.
Call what you
Whatever.
want, man. It's HBO. Who cares?
For me, HBO Max.
Yep.
For me.
Weird.
Uh,
Whatever.
all right. How about some really fun casting news? This got everyone excited.
Right. I know where you're going with this.
People that weren't even interested in the movie were like, "Oh, I'm suddenly all in."
Yeah.
Well, Mia Goth, who's like just kind of blown up in a huge way because of
Red hot right now.
X Pearl, Infinity Pool. I wouldn't guess she would go this route. She doesn't seem like an MCU kind of girl, but
I gotta say, I
she
was taken aback.
I am taking it back. She is just got cast in Marvel Studios Blade adaptation. Uh, Plot details unknown. Who she's playing unknown. I'm assuming she's gonna be a villain. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think
Yeah,
they make her
because
some
she doesn't
cool.
look anything like Blade. So
Yeah, she. Yeah, no, they're not related. Make her some cool vampire villainous. I can see her pulling that off really well.
oh
Um,
yeah,
this is how hot this girl is right now. That there are no details about who she's playing or what she's going to be doing, but everyone's
just
just
get her on
excited
board.
that she's excited that she's there. Like they're
Yeah,
just so excited that she's there. Uh, this is like officially, I think, the biggest thing she's been attached to as far as scope wise.
it,
It didn't seem like she didn't seem like the kind of girl that would want to be in a movie like this. But I mean, maybe
no.
it'd be like the script was good. Maybe they sold her on something really interesting, and that's why she decided to do it. So
That, and I can see her going on with the condition that she was going to be like in a one movie of the series or whatever it'll end up being.
right,
Like maybe just be a one picture deal.
right,
Maybe
right,
not though. That's just total speculation, but that just seems more in line like what career kind of
yeah,
is going. But I'm sure they threw a bag at her too, which would probably be hard to turn down. She deserves it too. She's commanding. She's a very commanding actress right now. I can only imagine that is reflected in her salary because she's been a huge name in the last few years. So
right.
good for me, a goth. I'm
Yeah,
excited for
huge.
Blade. Honestly, I like.
By the way, huge name in like smaller movies though. Like
Mm,
she's managed to like crack into like pop culture lexicon without being in like blockbuster movies yet.
that's a
Like,
great point.
and that's like pretty cool that she's been able to like earn that into something.
Not
Like,
everyone can say that.
yeah, she started as this person that most of us were familiar with, and now it seems like everyone kind of is
And
getting
this will
familiar with her, and this will
only
only
help
help.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so good for her. They were People were universally happy. I was on Twitter. It reminded me. People were also universally happy when I on Twitter when I posted and saw that Glenn Powell was going to be in the sequel to Twister, and what Merck was especially like oh yeah, that's my boy. I was like,
Okay.
I didn't know that Glenn Powell was so beloved. I guess he is.
He's
Uh,
an awesome up and comer. Honestly, I'd be happy to watch anything that he's in. I kind of forgot about that news. I'd seen that you posted it,
yeah.
and I'm not very familiar with the first one, so I was like, hey, whatever. But that's
Oh
good for
man,
him.
that's like one of the granddaddy of like disaster movies.
Disaster movies, yeah.
That's when like disaster movies were making a comeback. Like in the like so that came out in '96. That was like the first one that really hit, and then of course we got Independence Day. Like I think the next
Right.
year,
Oh, okay.
and like yeah, and then of course like with Hollywood they started making a bunch of them,
Yeah,
and
that's what they do.
we had two volcano movies in one year.
Volcano, and what was the other one?
Dante's Peak, and they were released within months of each other. Dante's Peak is the more realistic of the two, where it's like
Okay.
it's also the most boring because like nothing really happens until the volcano erupts an hour into the movie.
Okay.
Then we had like two like we had Deep Impact and Armageddon in the same year, where it was like a comet and an asteroid when those movies came
Mhm.
out. So eventually we just got two mini disaster movies, and we had to take.
Right.
I knew it was too much when the day after tomorrow just like mined every natural disaster. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's tornadoes in LA, like oh, like there's a violent like flood, and like oh, like it's
Everything you
everyone's
can think
yeah,
of.
everything
Yeah.
you can think of, earthquakes, like everything you can think of is in that movie. And they're like, all right, well, how do you top that?
Yeah. There you go.
How do
That's
you
a
top
good
everything?
point.
But yeah, no, I just love that. Like I had no idea, so I was reading like I was like, hey, people love Glenn Powell, and they love Mia
Yeah.
Goth, so like awesome. It's always nice to hear like good news like that though, especially for like people who are like really talented. It seems
Totally.
like they're really taking off in a big way.
Mia's casting too also gives me a little bit more hope for Blade because she's just been picking really great projects over the last few years. I can't help but think she at least has a little bit of insight as to what this is going to look like on paper. And I really liked what she saw. I don't think she would join otherwise because she doesn't seem like a kind of like a sellout to me. So it kind
Yeah,
of just gave me a little bit of an extra, appreciation for what Blade might be. I'm honestly I've been excited since Mahershala Ali's casting because I think there is no better person working today. I don't think that you could cast as Blade. So they really nailed that, if you ask me.
yeah,
I guess it's kind of gone through a setback. They've let go of their original director, right?
director. Yeah,
Yeah. So that kind of is like, a little, and I don't know if it was a creative issue thing or whatnot, but Still got to say I'm excited to see what becomes of that movie. I'm really hoping that they play it right. It would be awesome if Marvel would just let it go rated R, but I
Yeah.
guess that will time
Like,
and tell how
I
they
mean,
do
if they're
that.
gonna do that with Deadpool, they should do it with Blade.
They have
Like, I
more
mean,
than enough
like,
examples that rated R
yeah,
movies make money for them, so they have nothing
yeah.
to, they don't have that leg to stand on.
Well, I guess it's good that we're talking about the MCU, so we can talk about. We'll preface this as an MCU rumor for now, because it's like no,
Okay, sure, yeah,
but
that's fair.
the person who this comes from has broken some big stories before, especially Marvel ones. He's been right like a few times.
Okay,
Uh, but since you sent it to me, I'll let
yes,
you set it up.
for sure.
Uh,
Thank you. Uh, you know this gentleman's name who's broke this story before. What was his name
I think
again?
it's like Jeff Snyder.
Jeff Snyder. Yes.
Yeah,
So he has apparently broken this news. I don't know how legit, but apparently he's a credible guy. Apparently, Marvel is now on the hunt to replace Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. So we'll see. I wonder when they will officially announce that, but it looks like these allegations have gotten the best of them, and they've decided to part ways. At least according to Mr. Jeff here.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's. I guess we still don't know anything. At least I haven't heard anything more about the legitimacy behind these allegations that he's facing. So if it still turns out that these are not founded, then that really sucks. But totally understandable if there's enough credibility there for Marvel to part ways. I still think regardless, it's a smart move on their end just to avoid
yeah.
this controversy, but definitely sucks
Yeah, I
for now.
agree. I mean, I think we're obviously guys saying it's a rumor because like big trades haven't announced it yet, but like I'm
Right.
assuming this is a conversation that is happening like internally at Marvel about what to do next.
Yes.
Oddly enough, I haven't really heard much in the news lately about what's going on with that situation since he released those text
Right.
messages. That was the last thing that I saw news wise.
It's kind of suspect to me, don't you think?
Yeah,
Like, because his defense clearly very much leaning in that they think he's innocent and that they have all
yeah,
this
like this video, like
imminent
all this
proof
other
that's going to
stuff.
come out.
Yeah,
Where is this stuff? If it's so, going to clear his name, I don't know why they're letting this stew for as long as it has been, but it's definitely not a good sign. I
yeah,
guess we can
not a good
agree,
sign,
right?
and it's a headache that Marvel does not want if they are indeed having to deal with this. There has been some fan casting online. A lot of people are like rooting for John Boyega to take that spot. I
Oh,
don't know if he
okay.
wants. I don't know if he wants to dance with Disney again because he danced with Disney Star Wars. That
Yeah.
not that he has said that he loves looking at the stuff now, like this new stuff they're coming out with, as a Star Wars fan because like being removed from it now, he can remember what it's like to be a fan of like brand.
Okay.
I mentioned this before. I personally feel that there were bigger intentions for his character initially, and it seems
Yes.
like that's what they were hinting at in the Force Awakens, and that doesn't realize at all in those two follow-up
No.
movies. I don't know if he would want to be a part of a big again. Some people did fan cast him and had him like in Kang's like costume and stuff.
Okay. I think that is a
He
great.
looked legit. I mean,
That's a good replacement, a good backup. I'd say
yeah,
if Idris Elba was like 10 years or 15 years younger, I'd say he'd be the next best thing.
yeah,
Maybe
he'd be
maybe
good.
it would even fit. I want to see him do other stuff. I just think that he would be a good addition, like a good casting choice. But John Boyega I can get behind. I guess the issue that he had with Star Wars, where they had definitely teased his presence was going to be bigger throughout the movies, doesn't seem like he'll have that issue if he does get cast as Kang, because that's
Yeah,
definitely a character they're going to be running with in the next couple phases, definitely.
well,
So maybe it could be a chance for him to dip his toes back in the Disney pond and see how things go. But can't blame him for not, jumping or embracing that fan casting
yeah,
either, just based on what he had already gone through with the Star Wars. But yeah, that's interesting development.
yeah. I
Kang
agree. I
wise,
mean, yeah, it is. And you know what? We said if it does break in a like official way, we'll of course talk about it. Like if they do
100%.
replace him, but just throwing it out there because sometimes these scoops from like certain people they might not seem legitimate, but sometimes they end up being down the road. Uh, it's a weird situation, man. We went from like this guy was like the
King of
it
the world.
and then now it's just what a difference. Like a few months
Fall
make.
from
Like yeah,
grace very quickly, but
yeah, that's unfortunate.
very much so. But
Happens though. I mean,
yeah,
and like we said when we first up this TMZ inspired story. Wanted the truth to come out either way. If he did it, then shame on him. If she's lying, shame on her.
Right?
So either way, and you know what? Even if she is lying, or if it's like not what it seems, like I feel
Right.
like the court of public opinion sometimes it doesn't sway them.
No, exactly.
One way or the other.
Sometimes with this stuff, as soon as it's out there, it's game over. And apparently, she had we talked about this earlier that she had recanted those statements that she had made. So I
Yeah.
don't know how that ties into things, or if they think that's enough. I'm not sure, but it's definitely regardless. It doesn't seem that there's a great pathway out for Jonathan Majors right now.
Uh,
But
uh, yeah, it's man,
just
it's
a
so
yucky
crazy too.
situation.
It's a yucky situation, and like like I said, we went from like this guy being like two major releases so close to each other. I was like, God, look at this, he's taking off.
Mm.
People didn't love Ant-Man, but made some money. Not as much money as they thought it would, but made some money. And then Creed 3 comes out, has a franchise best opening weekend, makes a lot of money. And this,
Right?
this is the upward trajectory he was going in, and now it's I will
All
say
come
stall.
crashing in.
I'll say stalled right now
Stalled.
before, but
Sure. Better word.
shaky foundation for sure at the moment.
Certainly.
I do want to bring up something I said I was going to
Okay.
bookmark bring up.
Oh, yes.
Because once I your opinion, and I've actually gotten a lot of opinions on this. Who some agree with what this person said.
I feel strongly about what you're about to say, so I'm excited that we are bringing this up. But yeah, give us a little scoop.
By the way, Beau's Afraid had a pretty big art house platform launch over the weekend. I think it made only a couple locations right now, and it blew like the house, like the ceiling off of like per screen average, basically, for not playing in that many theaters before, because they're platforming it and like gradually, because with a movie like that you can't just go wide, you have to like build interest. And and for what we have seen from critics who have seen it early, are people who absolutely love it, and there are people that think it is a cinematic abortion.
Clearly divisive, to say the absolute least, right?
Yep. This person on, I won't say who it is, but a person on Twitter, because they're actually commenting below someone that said something similar that I just don't agree with. Someone that went to film school, I don't agree with it. As someone who's like a creative, I don't agree with it. But this is what he said: that Ari Aster clearly never cared about entertaining typical audiences. Even his so-called good films are punishing. As a filmmaker, you have a responsibility to your paying customers above yourself. His movies are straight up masturbatory. What do you think? I'll tell you what I think, but you go first.
Right. This is what I saw. Ari actually responded to that, right, with his own reply.
I did see that actually.
What did he say? Did. Something. I'm just gonna butcher it if I try to recount it. But if you do find it worth a read, however, I think that is an absolute, like, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'll be the first to like entertain anyone's opinion, and I'm entitled to mine. And I gotta say, like, I think that is absolute rubbish. Like, that is just like ridiculous thing to say, to insinuate that any creator, let's say a filmmaker like Ari Aster, has any obligation to anybody. Like, he is there to create and to throw out his art for whoever. Like he said something along the lines of, he makes art and whoever's on board with it, great. That's kind of like, he doesn't owe anything to anybody. He's there to create. If a studio wants to throw millions of dollars at him because they like his track record of movies, for him to do whatever he wants to do with that, that is up to him what he wants to make. He doesn't owe anybody anything. And it's one thing to like his work or not, but I mean, yeah, he definitely has a flair and a unique style. But to call it masturbatory, I think, is also a little bit. I think his movies are very, just genuinely, objectively well helmed, and he's a master storyteller. If you ask me, and horror filmmaker. That's just my opinion.
So actually, the person that posted the original thread where this comment was under also kind of called out A24 for like being irresponsible for giving him all this freedom to like make what he wants. That's also ridiculous. That's also ridiculous, because what any filmmaker wants is artistic freedom, and a major studio usually doesn't always give you artistic freedom, because they're the money people, right? So they're like, well, this isn't gonna make us money, so you need to change this and do that and cut this and like whatever. They've gone all in with him on 3 movies, and in his first 2 movies were well received, made decent money. I mean, like, it's not like he's coming off 2 flops.
Not by any means.
Not like that. And also, just as someone who went to film school and like wanted to be a filmmaker, is I should be able to make my art the way I want to make it. If you happen to like it, that's awesome. That's great. On that ride with me. Thank you.
Right.
But I'm not gonna sell out because it's like, oh, you're buying tickets to my movie, so I have to like, cater to your needs. Like it's not, this isn't your movie. I mean, I think when people go see something, it does become theirs. Like fans who are like, Star Wars. I think Star Wars fans are like, that's ours now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're certainly right to a degree.
It's no longer George Lucas's or Disney. It's like, this is ours because we're the ones like watching and like giving, like, that is a weird kind of flex to me. It's not yours. No, it really isn't. Like you didn't create it, you didn't write it, you didn't film it, you didn't do anything on it.
So you don't have an opinion or a say on this.
So it's cool to be a fan of it and like love what they're putting out there, or like have an opinion on it, but like it's not yours. And so like if I'm creative, I shouldn't have to change just my artistic merit to like suit a certain viewer's needs and like make 100%. Something that will be universally loved by everyone. I mean, like, I don't know. It's
odd to me. I don't think I've ever seen someone pose an argument in which they seem to at least suggest studio interference or studio or a third party compromising an artist's vision. I've never seen an argument where that is suggested to be a good thing or the alternative to complete artistic freedom. Usually it's overwhelmingly the opposite. When studios intervene and compromise an artist's vision, it's almost universally lambasted. Like this is never a good thing. And so to see someone, it's not outward said, but if you're reading between the lines, that seems to be the only alternative. If they think that A24 were irresponsible with giving them complete creative control, then it seems that you are insinuating that they should have injected themselves into his work. And I have never seen an argument made for that in my entire life. I don't think so. Very strange way to look at it. Almost. So I don't get what they would have liked to see, but clearly this movie didn't land for that person, and that's fine. I cannot wait for Beau is Afraid.
You're stoked.
I am stoked. I've been eating up everything that I've seen. I love a good divisive movie. Midsommar was very divisive. I remember when it came out as well. I think that can be said for many.
Hereditary too.
I still have friends that
I think that got like a D+ cinema score when it came out.
What?
That's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Horror movies ever.
And it still made money. I think it did well enough where people were curious, like, oh, what's this about? But like, I never understood the disdain for Hereditary. And you know what? There are a lot of people that don't agree with us on this. What that guy? Some people agree with what that guy said.
Same.
Ert, who's on the top 5 home dive. He's been on the show a few times. He's a great guy. He's really also from Canada. Very cool, very nice.
Oh, nice.
But he agreed with him, and he was like, I dare you. He's like, I dare you to come on my show to talk about it. I was like, so I will. I will definitely talk about it. I definitely will.
I see that.
I don't agree.
Right.
But yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course. But yeah, not...
It's an interesting one.
I got like triggered when I read it. When I was reading it, I was like, "Really?"
Like, so did I. I was like, "I've never. This is so strange to me to read. I don't agree with it at all. Like it.
Yeah,
it was very conflicting for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm sure we will both be seeing this around the same time, and I cannot wait for the discussion for this movie. I cannot wait to get into what this movie is going to be about, and maybe I'll find that I kind of already know like how I'm going to feel about this movie regardless of I see.
You're like nothing's changed.
I'm all on board with Ari Aster. He's a great creative mind. But that being said, still haven't seen it, so can't really say much.
It's just it's expanding closer to where I'm at. It's in Los Angeles, but it's far out. Where it's playing right now. So I was like, I should get a little bit closer. So I have to like go far
soon
out to
enough,
see it.
though.
But soon enough. I wanted to throw that out there because I was like, man, and like as soon as I said it to you, you were like, yeah, that's such a like garbage take.
I think so. I didn't realize that known people that had agreed with it. I wasn't expecting it to have many people agree with that stance.
I didn't either. I was like, oh,
it's interesting.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, no, I definitely have some strong feelings about that. But again, I'll respect that people have their own opinion. That's fine.
Definitely. But yeah, I'm sure the more. I mean, and it'll be interesting to bring this up once we actually see the movie.
Yes. If anything, this just builds the hype for me. Like I cannot wait to see what so many people are clearly so offended by, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's
close it off with some box office.
Office.
You got some numbers?
Got some. Usually when the estimates come out, they're like be like a little off, like compared to the actuals. But
Right.
in the case of the Super Mario Brothers movie, this worked out really well for them. Originally, it said it made $87 million over the weekend, which still is
Okay.
like which is only like a 40-something% drop off of a holiday weekend. Usually, after a holiday weekend, the drops are bigger. So at $87 million, this was already the best second weekend for an animated movie. Top Frozen 2's $85 million second weekend.
Wow.
Then I got an email like, oops, basically, it actually made $92.3 million over the weekend.
What?
So those estimates were crazy off.
Yeah.
It's already made $353.1 million at the domestic box office. It's officially already the highest grossing
Domestic
movie.
in
Yeah,
2 weekends, it's made
yeah,
350.
yes, yes.
Whoa,
Highest
that is
grossing movie of 2023 so far.
crazy.
Worldwide has made $692.9 million, and everyone's saying that this will probably be the first global billion-dollar earner of the year.
Yeah, certainly seems that way. That is, I can't get over these numbers. That is insane. Who would have thought this?
This 92.3 million was like it's tracking before it opened. Like that was like the initial tracking for it. That was like the low end. So all right, guys, where are those 2 sequels in the spinoff? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's coming.
Surely this is right around the corner. Like it can't be far because no way you can ignore money like that.
And if you're waiting to hear where Renfield is, it's not in second place. The Pope's Exorcist came in second, $9 million.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't have guessed that either.
In a much better position because it's only an $18 million movie, and it'll probably like make a decent little profit before it fades away.
Good for it. That's good.
No Winfield yet. John Wick is in third. We have to go all the way to fourth place to find Winfield. I predicted $14 million, and I thought that was like, I mean, I was being kind of conservative. I thought maybe even though it was like kind of like a niche audience, I thought it could break out. It didn't really break out. It only made $8 million this weekend.
Oh, only 8.
Okay. Yeah, and that wouldn't be so bad if the budget wasn't $65 million. So
there. My goodness.
So there's that. It also got a B- cinema score, which means like word of mouth isn't that great at the moment either. Even though I didn't love it, I mean, I don't like seeing that either. So
no, exactly. I didn't want it to lose anything or get panned, but that's unfortunate that it's not doing so well. I was looking. Thought I would have down my prediction box office wise for Renfield, but I don't see it written down here. I don't remember what I had guessed.
I think you went a little above me.
Yeah, I think it was like that much at least.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you might have said 20, which is like way off.
What do I know about the box office? That's unfortunate. I guess definitely it was competing against Super Mario Brothers. Definitely ate up, I'm sure, some money from that, but doesn't sound like much by the reception. But yeah, that sucks. A little tough for Nicolas Cage, but definitely, I'm sure most people can agree he is the best part of that movie.
Yeah, he is, and honestly, even with like the whack cop subplot and the forced messaging in it, I can definitely see it becoming like a cult classic down the road. Like I can see being picked up by like people discovering it later, and
maybe it'll find legs on streaming or something.
Yeah, maybe that's its destiny. Theatrical hit. We have a fun one to predict this weekend. We have Evil Dead Rise coming out this weekend. It's not going to beat the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's not what we're looking at. We're just looking to see like how high it could open. Tracking has it at 15 to 20, but some people think it could go a little beyond that, considering that right now, as of this recording, 44 reviews counted. It's a 95% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's impressive.
To hear that. That's awesome.
So only real one to kind of compare it to is Evil Dead from 10 years ago. You can't really compare it to like the other ones.
Not even the same ballpark.
That opened to $25.3 million. Came out. Very impressive number. Only a $17 million budget movie. And Evil Dead made $97 million worldwide when it came out in 2013. Buzz on this is so good. I'm going to say right now, I think it matches it. I think 25 is a good number.
Yeah, I think 25 is good as well.
I think 25 million is going to match it. And if it goes a little higher, I mean, that's because like horror is pretty hot right now. But
this certainly
is also a very particular horror movie. This is like only very gruesome, very gory. I mean, not everyone loves that, and I think that's what some people, when they saw Evil Dead from 10 years ago, I think casual moviegoers were like, "That's a lot. That is a lot." So, again, it might make it harder for it to like break out beyond like hardcore horror fans, but I still think there's enough buzz and enough like goodwill that it's built up so far that I think 25 million is a good start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a respectable guess there. I'm going to Jeopardy you and go 26. Just see who goes higher or lower. Because
Damn.
I think that's a good like that,
Price,
but I don't want to
well, the
match
price is
you.
right on me.
Or Price is Right. That's what I meant. Yes, exactly. I was saying, what game show was that where it matters? Yes, Price is Right. I'm gonna go 26 because I think I have good feelings about it. I agree with you that it'll at least match because I'm trying to think like 10 years can be a long time for to have a not a sequel, but something in the same ballpark as that other
Yeah.
one, a spiritual sequel, if you will, or same kind of IP.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like a lot of people that were watching that at the time are still, I'm sure, going to come back to this. Horror is hot in 2023. There's a lot of things going for it. Like you said, the word of mouth and the reviews seem to be like overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
My only concern, if it doesn't quite open, will be and Super Mario Bros. Eating up some box office dollars. I hope it doesn't, though. I hope horror fans come out to
Well,
see it.
yeah, I think they will. I mean, it's also different audience too, so I guess there's, it shouldn't it'll be good counter programming for like the family stuff. I think, and I
Yeah,
think the other two horror releases we got this week, feeling the post is that they're not going to be much of a threat because
taken.
they didn't really open that huge. So you
That's a
know
great point.
they'll probably both see pretty big drops again.
Yes.
But yeah, all right, 25 me, 26 you.
Back in next
We
week and
will
see.
we'll see how close we get.
Yeah.
We'll both be seeing this movie too, by the way, so that'll be a fun one to talk about. Week.
Absolutely. I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
be seeing Bo is Afraid or Evil Dead Rise first, but definitely we'll try and sneak both of them in on the probably do a Thursday and a Sunday showing is how I think I will be approaching those. But
yeah,
regardless, I won't let much time go in between either one of them. I'm almost equally excited for both. Just the
yep,
advantage
for
slightly to
sure.
Bo. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
All right, man. Well,
all right.
even though we had a lot, I feel like we got through
Got
this
it
pretty
in
quick.
pretty concisely. Yeah, there was a lot
Yeah,
to chat. Another busy news week, which I love. Soon enough, maybe next week we'll calm down and we can go in some other stuff. But hey, man, there was a great week great week movie news wise. So always happy
yeah.
to chat new developments in Hollywood. It's never a dull moment
Never a
at
dull
that point.
moment. Yep.
Yes, and always a blast to compare box office too. I love the dynamic that throws into the show because we are usually so wrong. It's just such an
So wrong.
unpredictable thing.
So wrong that we have, and we still haven't dropped the segment. We're like, no, it's cool. It's fun to guess.
Yeah.
It's fun to guess.
Yes, but yeah, absolutely. Well, listeners, thank you very much for joining us on another wild ride on Back to the Blockbuster. Appreciate you as always. You guys have enjoyed the show. Make sure you tell your friends where you can find us. You know that we are wherever you guys can get your podcast, and we appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Stay tuned to Deep Dive coming at you here shortly, and we have another anniversary episode coming at you soon too, where we will be covering the 30th anniversary of The Sandlot. So stick tuned to social media. And wherever you guys listen to your podcast, you can find us there at Back to the Blockbuster. Gaius, always a pleasure, my friend. We will see you shortly.
All right, always a pleasure, buddy. Always smooth, man. Always
Thanks,
super
my
smooth
man.
with the outro.
Peace out, guys.